Hi everyone and welcome to another New World video. So this is my first video featuring a build, and it is the build I am using for the Elysian Wilds expansion. And so obviously it's going to be a build featuring the flail, and I'm quickly going to explain how it works and what was the idea behind it. So if you remember at launch, there was a build which was the Paladin build, in which you used a warhammer, a great axe, or a sword and shield with a Lifestaff, and then you put an ember gem in the melee weapon in order for it to scale with focus, because obviously if you wanted your Lifestaff to heal, you needed some focus. And so in this new expansion they gave us a new melee weapon, because obviously the build I'm talking about was nerfed, and so they gave us a new weapon that scales of strength and focus, which is actually perfect for a Paladin build. And so there it is. So I use flail with sword and shield, and so the purpose of this build is to be an on-point healer. So if you play in Wars or Outpost Rush, you will see that most healers who play, for example, Void Gauntlet Lifestaff, or most of the time Lifestaff with Rapier, they generally are not on the point. They will stay outside the point and heal from outside forts or from a distance. And if they are inside the fort, most of the time they aren't on the point. And what ends up happening a lot of the time is that all the bruisers and tanks are going to go on the point, and they are going to die because the healers cannot target them as they are still inside and don't want to get in. The purpose of this build is actually to get inside, be with the tanks and bruisers on the point and fight alongside them. As a healer, a buffer, because the Flail and Shield gives a lot of utility, and someone who can stay on the point and not die, which is a pretty interesting fight in melee. So this build is pretty powerful in a way, so you don't have the best escape. Obviously it's a build that reaches its full power when played in a group. If you're alone, if you end up in a 1v1 situation, you don't have the best tools to get away, but you are very unlikely to die. What ends up happening is that people will start trying to kill you, and then it takes so much time that they end up giving up. They just give up and they go try to do something else. I had this situation where I was facing, I don't have the best gear, but I was facing someone who had full best and slot with a spear hatchet, and he just wasn't able to kill me, and so the fight ended up lasting something like 20 minutes, and then eventually he got fed up and just left. So this build gives you a lot of survivability, some decent damage. It's definitely not a good damaging build, and really it shines best with a group. In group fights it is actually quite powerful. So what spells do I take? Obviously I go with Smite, Arcane Smite. Main reason is if you played with a Kite Shield, which I have a Kite Shield equipped, it staggers the targets. Why do I play this? It allows you to gain some time and protect some allies to give them time to get into your healing zones. And just applying an AoE CC like this really helps in a lot of situations. It's just very powerful. And it does decent damage. And also one thing I want to say about this, and let me get out for a second, is that it's a skill you can free aim mid-air. For example, I'm starting this skill there, I turn around and I slam behind me. And it's actually quite powerful. I love this skill. Second, I take Arcane Vortex because it buffs my allies. So as you can see, it gives 10% empower to everyone. It has grit. It does a bit of damage, not too much. It can root, but the root is very hard to actually hit. So it gives some movement speed, but this is the important thing. So it cleanses crowd control every single crowd control and makes all your allies immune to them for 1 second. And obviously it heals a bit, but that's not the most interesting thing. Obviously, because we are running 350 focus, it can go up to 5 seconds of CC immunity. So that's incredibly powerful. I really insist on that. It does not do the best damage, but when you're in a group, just you get on the point, use this, and every single bruiser in your team that is close enough is going to be immune to CC for up to 5 seconds. That's insanely powerful, especially if you plan on getting in, which is the purpose of this build. I obviously take this, it gives some healing to my allies. That's actually quite good. It's interesting. Just some added healing since you're meant to play in a group and you're a healer at the core. Yeah, just some good thing. And this one could be interesting, but it does not proc enough. It's not consistent at all. Now, why do I take this? I see a lot of people taking another one just because you need some kind of escape. This is pretty strong, so it's a dash, allows you for some good repositioning, and I don't know which perk it is. Which one is it? So yeah, you get some fortify with a kite shield. You slow enemies. That's this one I'm interested in. So barrage can now block attack while charging forward without consuming stamina. Why is this good? It's just that whenever you're in danger, because obviously you're going to be on point, you're going to be in the melee, and you have to have a tool to, if you really get in danger, to get away. And that's why I use this one. It's just whenever you're in a tight spot, just get out. And since you're blocking, most spells, like most things, are going to make you very resistant while you're charging. And it's especially useful in Outpost Rush. If you're on the point inside the fort, you can use this one to just get out through the door if you aim it well. Just a very useful skill, allows you to survive and eventually chase down some targets. So yeah, let's go over my Lifestaff skills, and I'll explain because I have a different choice from a lot of people. So as you can see, I'm running Divine Embrace, Sacred Ground, and Beacon. Sacred Ground is just mandatory if you're playing healer. You cannot play without Sacred Ground, just way too powerful. But sometimes I see a lot of people recommending you take Orb of Protection and Beacon. So a lot of people recommend you play Sacred Ground, Beacon, and Orb of Protection. Why do I play Divine Embrace? Mainly because Orb of Protection is probably the strongest, but it is good when you have a group that knows how to stay packed. I generally prefer Divine Embrace. Divine Embrace is especially powerful when you play with randoms, because whenever they make a mistake, basically Divine Embrace is here to correct your allies' mistakes, when Orb of Protection is here to help a very packed group that knows at least a little how to play together. Divine Embrace allows you to correct your allies' mistakes, which with a group of randoms and even with people who kind of know how to play together is really, really strong. So that's why I tend to run Divine Embrace, because it's not the most optimized, but it's the most reliable in the greatest number of situations. If you really are with a group that is trained to play together, you probably should take Orb of Protection over Divine Embrace. That's my recommendation. And so about just what I run. So I run the Artifact Odo. I've put Arboreal Attunement, but you could probably go with Arcane Smite, with the Burdening Smite, which is probably a good choice. And for the I don't have a best in slot at all. I'm not. I don't have the funds. As you can see, I'm pretty poor. I only have 20,000 gold, and so this build is something you can put up quite fast. It does not demand that you have very high RNG or high luck. It can definitely be optimized, and if you know what perks to take in PvP, you probably can optimize this. So I run with Odo. Odo, you can get it by farming some kind of, a lion in the new area. It's the Artifact Flail. it has lifesteal, and so it gives more damage on stunned foes, which is not the best for us. But since you play with a group, your allies are going to stun, and this is on this that you're going to get the best benefit from it. You could probably replace it with a crafted one, but Odo is definitely a good starting point. For the Lifestaff, I used Fire of Life, so I need to change it, but it has you can craft it at the gypsum kiln, which is why it's a good option. It has Blessed, 12% outgoing healing, which was mandatory on a Lifestaff. And I use Fortifying Sacred Ground. Main reason being that, so a lot of people would recommend you use Refreshing Divine Embrace. I do have Refreshing Divine Embrace, but on my chest piece, which is less powerful. But I think you gain more advantage from Fortifying Sacred Ground, especially since, as I said, you're supposed to be on point. And if you are on point, you probably benefit a lot from that Sacred Ground. And yeah, I just think it's another, well, I mean, it's a very good tool. You could replace, so I don't have the money to actually replace Vicious with something else, but I should probably recommend replacing it with refreshing moves, or anything that of the same sort that gives you some more ways to heal better. As you can see, I use the attuned leather pants. Why? Because we are using 3 different stats, and we do actually need quite a lot of stats, and this is the piece that actually gives us the more stats. The other reason is that I want to stay in medium. I've tried going in heavy, but heavy wasn't really like the heal reduction was way too strong for it to be effective, so I stay in medium. And since I'm planning on using a kite shield for the stun, for the stun on the arcane smite, I use a kite shield. And if you are full medium with a kite shield, you can actually be very well equipped. My kite shield is something you can also craft at the gypsum kiln, but I would recommend changing accelerated resolve. Sturdy energy is good, sturdy is pretty good, and refreshing defense is also very, very strong. You could probably change it. I would recommend trying to have another flail perk. Mending Vortex, Arcane Vortex is probably a very good option. And for the rest, yeah, it's mostly the standard PvP perks. You need some health, you need freedom, you need shirking heals or shirking fortification. This is something that does not really rely on the build. It's nothing new. As you can see, when it comes to my attributes, I have 200 constitution, 350 focus. I'm using some food to reach these attributes, and I probably, with a more optimized version, I could probably reach 100 strength, which is not mandatory. As you can see, 50 strength. If you really want it, you probably can stay at 50 strength and put all the rest in focus or constitution. When it comes to the food, I could probably use better food, but right now I'm using the slow roasted bear flank with root vegetables, which gives me 24 focus and 16 constitution for 40 minutes. This is what allows me to have this amount of stat. And when I want to finish with this by saying that I'm using, obviously, this is not a surprise, the Stalwart Heart Rune of Stone form, which gives me Fortify and increase my armor, makes me completely immune to CC, and gives me some healing, so I heal whenever I activate this. Why is it so strong on healers? Because the only thing that can kill a healer is CC. If you CC the healer, it cannot cast its healing zones and healing spells, and having this thing allows me to be, obviously, insensitive to CC. My damage is reduced, but I don't care at all. It just makes me basically makes me invulnerable because I can cast my healing zones without being cancelled. So that will be pretty much all when it comes to describing the build. I've made a little fashion by using some golden looking pieces and everything, but it does not matter much. I'm going to stop talking now and cut to some gameplay so you can actually see how it plays out in Outpost Rush, but it's not so different. Outpost Rush is probably the best display of what this build does. Thank you very much for watching. I'll leave you with the gameplay, and don't forget to subscribe if you found it interesting. Bye.